Mercedes may have made a big step forward with their W14, but it turns out there are more big upgrades in the pipeline, and Silverstone is when they're going to arrive. As you're probably aware, Mercedes brought a much revised car to Monaco, consisting of a new floor, new side pods, and new front suspension, and the suspension especially has helped the drivers feel more confident in the car. These upgrades have helped them in the medium to fast corners, which is why they were very strong around Barcelona. The big weakness of the car right now, though, is the low speed, which is why they were quite surprised they had a good weekend in Canada, because it's mostly slow speed corners, and that's where they struggle. The car just lacks rear downforce. Toto Wolff has confirmed, though, that there are 2 upgrades planned before the summer break. This is what he said. We still have 2 in the next races, a big one in Silverstone, the other before the summer break. That means that there likely won't be any change to their car at the upcoming race at Austria, but they might do quite well around there. The middle sector and the last sector are pretty much medium to fast corners. The first sector is a lot slower, so they might struggle there. Afterwards, we have Silverstone, which is where he's saying they're going to bring their big upgrade to. And then he says 1 more before the summer break. Well, there's only 1 more race after that. That's Hungary before we go on the summer break and come back at Spa. So that's looking like Silverstone and Hungary, 2 upgrades, one of them a big one. Maybe Silverstone is looking pretty good for Mercedes. Now, we have no idea what these upgrades entail, but what we do know based on what the drivers have said is that it's the rear of the car that needs the most work. The drivers are lacking rear downforce, which is especially noticeable under traction. One of the supposed reasons for this could be put down to the lack of an undercut on the side pods, which other teams like Red Bull have used to quite an extreme level, and the recent Aston Martin upgrades have also moved them more in this direction as well. Exactly how big this upgrade is going to be is anyone's guess, but if you're like me, I'm even surprised they're bringing a big upgrade to the car, especially after Andrew Shovlin explained just how expensive it is to manufacture and before that, design a new suspension system. So I would have thought they would have been well into their budget by now for this year. But Toto Wolff explicitly said big upgrade. He didn't just say upgrade, he said big upgrade. So they're definitely cooking something over at Mercedes. Also, interestingly, when asked by a journalist where is the most likely place Mercedes could get a win this season, Toto Wolff said Silverstone, with a bit of a smirk on his face. And this doesn't necessarily mean anything, I know, but it definitely suggests that they were expecting to be a lot stronger at Silverstone, considering the track very much leans into their car's strengths. What Toto Wolff also confirmed is that for the first time in 18 months, Mercedes don't have any more correlation issues. This means that what they're seeing in their data and in the simulator is now accurately lining up with what they're seeing out on the track. And this hasn't been the case over the last season and a half. In fact, they were seeing things in the simulator, especially last year, that would suggest their car should have been going at a certain level, but then they got to the track, it was entirely different. Finally, though, they were able to rely on their data and their own simulations, and it's matching what they're then seeing out on track. And this will definitely make a huge difference going forward. Mercedes have definitely made a big step forward, especially if we consider where they were at the start of the season. But other teams are making steps as well. We saw at the last race, Aston Martin have brought a big upgrade, and that's just edged them forward. They believe they can challenge Red Bull. We also saw Ferrari with a new upgrade, and while it didn't do that well in Barcelona, it did a lot better in Canada. But this was kind of hidden by the fact that Ferrari had a bad qualifying. Helmut Marko reckons that if Ferrari were at the front, they would have challenged them for the win. That means potentially we have Mercedes, Aston Martin, and Ferrari that could potentially challenge Red Bull, at least one of them. But will they? Will one of those teams stop Red Bull from winning every race this season? I hope so. I'm really looking forward to Austria.